the City of Vineland, Tuesday, November 23rd, 6:32 p.m.
Mr. Acosta?
Here.
Mr. Franceschini?
Here.
Mr. Spinelli? Here. Mr. Vargas?
Here.
Dr. Arthur?
Here. We have our students here from Thomas Wallace Middle School, and they're going to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Parents wanted to take pictures with their students?
Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given on December 8th, 2020 by the city clerk in the following manner: posting written notice on the official bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall, providing written notice to the offices of the Daily Journal and the Press of Atlantic City, and filing written notice in the office of the city clerk of the City of Vineland.
Chair entertains a motion that 2021 minutes of the pre-meeting conference and regular meeting of November 9th, the closed meeting of November 9th, and the work session of November 16, 2021 be approved as submitted.
So move.
I second.
Is there any discussion by council? None?
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Yes. Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes.
I have Resolution 2021-547, a resolution recognizing Jeffrey Spendiff upon retiring from public service, effective December 1, 2021, and approving the transfer of Vineland Police duty weapon in recognition of years of service with the Vineland Police Department.
Chair entertains a motion that resolution number 2021-547 be adopted according to law.
So move.
I second.
Any discussion by council? None?
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Yes. Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes. At this time, Mr. Mallett's going to come before us, the presentation about the Chestnut Avenue diet.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak for a few minutes. I'm David Mallett, your city engineer. I came before you last week at the work session, and I figured probably not a bad idea to give the presentation again for the council members that weren't here. Thanks, Paul. And any public that might be here, especially after the article, which was a little bit misleading. I am here in support of Resolution 2021-553 for the advancement of a road diet and substantive safety improvements on Chestnut Avenue from Main Road to Delsey Drive. The road diet would be a conversion of a 4-lane road to a 3-lane road. It's 2 lanes in each direction right now. This proposal would be 1 lane in each direction and a center 2-way left turn lane for 3 total lanes. The reason that we're trying to advance this as a concept to get behind is because Chestnut Avenue is the highest ranked corridor in Cumberland County for serious and fatal pedestrian crashes. It's also the highest ranked corridor in our county for serious and fatal crashes involving bicyclists. Now, I came before council a few years ago advancing the idea of a road diet and all kinds of safety improvements, and it didn't go well, and I don't blame you. I was asked if I had public support, and we didn't talk to anybody. I was asked about whether or not it would be an impact on traffic congestion. It's a common misconception, and I can talk to that in a little bit. And also I was asked about whether or not we could do other safety improvements and still keep those 4 lanes. Unequivocally, no. The road diet is the single most important safety improvement we can make, around which all other safety improvements would fall. So this time around, we did reach out to the public to find out what they think about safety on Chestnut Avenue and how open they are to change. And so I enlisted the help of the health department because they do outreach all the time. They do outreach and education, and Amy Holmes really led that effort, and she's going to talk a little bit about our outreach effort and what our results were.
Good evening, council members and members of the public. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. Thank you, DJ, for the introduction. I wanted to just give a synopsis of the community outreach efforts the Vineland Health Department engaged in for this project. Many asked us, why is the health department involved in this project with engineering? Road safety for Vineland residents is imperative to public health. It improves quality of life, one's civic engagement with their community, and it allows people to engage in healthy daily habits like walking, biking, and other outside activities. So we did see it as a priority for the health department in our usual efforts to promote health and wellness. Our community outreach had a purpose of looking beyond crash data alone. We wanted to get the perspective of daily life on Chestnut Avenue. We wanted to capture those near misses that happen every day, which wouldn't be captured otherwise. But most importantly, we wanted to bring the affected community to the planning table and hear their perspective beyond what just the reports say. The methods we used for conducting this community outreach was meeting people where they're at, which in public health, this is where all initiatives are headed. We had 3 phases of outreach designed. We first did outreach through community organizations and churches. After that, we met with business owners on the corridor, and then we did canvassing efforts at residences. The survey was designed to be both available in English and Spanish simultaneously. We had 9 questions and was always offered in either an online or a paper version format. Those paper copies were available at City Hall and the City Library, and the online version was promoted through the city's website and social media. We had a flyer promotion along the corridor between Chestnut and Main at local businesses and other private organizations so people could have access to it wherever they were. Thanks to the city's public relations department, the social media posts helped promote the survey as well. The time frame of this survey, it took us 8 months, so this activity ranged from March of 2021 to November of this year. Again, we surveyed in phases. We met with 14 organizations, 54 businesses. We canvassed 106 residences, and we also had outreach extended to the 4 apartment complexes, being Parktown, Chestnut Square, Tarkiln, and Regency Court. We also attended 2 back-to-school nights so we could meet some students and families to get their opinion as well. The target population, again, is those who live, work, worship, or conduct business along Chestnut Avenue. We did not collect any demographics on this survey. We limited the survey by geography to the affected corridor until we opened up the survey citywide on September 15th. If you can see the handout that I gave you here, we had 521 responses overall, which in survey world, that is a large response. In general, the survey was to capture the perceptions of safety initially on the first part of questioning. The survey concluded that participants responded that they perceive Chestnut to be somewhat unsafe to very unsafe. And we may ask, well, why do we care what the perception is? Well, perception drives behavior. So whether something is perceived as extremely unsafe, it will deter someone from engaging in a certain activity. So perception does matter in this case. As DJ will go into, the experts also agree that there are certain features that make Chestnut very unsafe as well. The other thing we asked participants to report on was behaviors they've seen from motor vehicles, pedestrians, and bike riders. As I'm sure it's no surprise to anyone, cars were reported to be going too fast. That was the top complaint. Speeding up to beat the signal, sudden lane changes, not yielding to bikes or pedestrians, and sudden stopping. These were the most rated complaints for driving. Safety concerns that were also listed, the first being speeding. Speeding is the highest priority listed of complaints. The second would be left turns. When asked to think about changes coming that may improve safety, priorities included pedestrian safety as the first priority. Thereafter, reducing speeding, and then thereafter that, concerns about traffic efficiency or flow. The most significant fact that we found through this survey is that when we asked participants to rate the importance of improved safety, they rated it 9 out of 10 as being important. And then they equally reported their receptiveness to any changes that would bring those safety measures, also 9 out of 10. So it was ranked very high for both the importance of the safety improvements as well as receptiveness to change. So with that, I just wanted to add that with our efforts, we were able to obtain the data we needed, make those new connections, and really speak to the citizens to connect with them. Some of them commented how they had never met anyone from the city before. So they were very happy that we were there to take their opinion. They're very much looking forward to see what comes next. And I appreciate you taking the time to hear me today. Thank you.
So our outreach effort was successful. We had a lot of responses, and it was successful in that sense. It was also successful in the sense that it kind of shone the light on what people perceived about safety on Chestnut Avenue. They perceive that it's unsafe. It's unsafe to walk. It's unsafe to bike. It's unsafe to drive. They perceive that they also expressed that they're ready for safety improvements and that they're ready for change to make those safety improvements. With the connections that we made through the outreach, should this resolution pass, we'll start working on design elements. The road diet is the critical, most important part. That's why it's in the resolution. That's why it's in the title of the resolution, and other substantive safety improvements. And that is, there are many different things that we can do out there, but we're not going to tie down onto anything else on this right now. We'll work with the community, a group of stakeholders, to come up with different design elements for this road and come back to council with concept designs, should you pass this resolution. As I had mentioned, the congestion was a concern. If we lose these travel lanes, won't it be more congested? No, there's a few things in its favor for Chestnut Avenue. The traffic volume, and I misspoke last time, the traffic volume required for a road diet is less than 25,000 vehicles per day. Chestnut Avenue has a volume of around 13 to 14,000 vehicles per day, so it's kind of hitting that sweet spot. If a road diet happens, we've had consultants analyze the travel time, existing condition versus a future condition. And in a future condition with a road diet, the traffic signals modernized and updated, the travel time is virtually the same. So the issue of congestion isn't an issue there. One of the concerns, and Mr. Burke, when he was here, mentioned something about school buses, is the biggest issue is we can't get school buses off the road. School buses have to get on the road, they have to stop. But with the issue of Chestnut Square apartments, which is a serious problem, I've been in contact with the apartment complex and school transportation. Mike Hall is trying to talk to insurance services and see what the issues could be with that. There is an agreement in spirit to get the buses into the site. At the very least, that bus stop needs to move from its current position. And the devil is in the details on that, and I feel that the details can be worked out. So the question of the different options, there's a lot of things that could be done out there. We have to fix the sidewalk. There's lighting issues out there. It's very dark. But the road diet really is the single most important thing that we can do here. And there is funding for it. We just all saw that Atlantic City got over $10 million for a road diet on Atlantic Avenue, which, by the way, has 10,000 to 14,000 vehicles per day. And this safety improvement, so the federal government, the Federal Highway Administration has intimated that through their local representatives and NJDOT local aid representatives that we work with, that they're not looking to fund improvements on Chestnut Avenue without substantive safety improvements. Highest ranked in the county for pedestrian and bicyclist involved serious and fatal crashes. And so this is why we need to do substantive safety improvements. With the commitment from the city to improve the safety in this way, we can move forward to rearrange our TIP, our Transportation Improvement Program, that's programmed through SJTPO, get Chestnut Avenue on that TIP. It's not in there now because there's never been a true commitment to the safety improvements. And then we can get design assistance and work towards the concept designs that we can come back to City Council with different options of improvements out there. I feel that the advancement of the road diet is critically important to safety on Chestnut Avenue. It will increase quality of life. It will not slow down traffic and make it to a standstill. It will make it reasonable. It will make it safer for everyone that goes up and down this road. If you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer.
You have no idea of what concepts you want to
Well,
implement?
sure. Well, the ask
Other than the 3-lane?
the ask tonight is the road diet. The road diet and the commitment to substantive safety improvements. The Federal Highway Administration just
Usually money that comes from the Fed comes with ties.
Sure, the tie here is substantive safety improvements. So,
No definitive, you have to do this, other than improve safety.
right, so a road diet will reduce all crashes between 19 and 47%. That's been studied for years and years and years. And with a road like this, that is one piece of it. But there's 28 now proven safety countermeasures at the federal level. They just added more in. And one of the ones is lighting. Lighting the crosswalks properly. But the sidewalks out there are not lit either. And so making that as an improvement would also improve the quality of life for the people in that area.
I mean, I think the last time it was brought up, the two biggest concerns, and I think you remember, the bicycle lanes, putting bikes close to the traffic, and roundabouts.
Right.
And I don't see that going to be changing.
Right. I think they're great, but that's not the ask tonight. The ask tonight is for the road diet, and I'm not going to come back here with a concept that is so far-fetched that council is going to say no. But the big ask tonight is to get rid of the drag strip on Chestnut Avenue. We commit to get rid of the drag strip. It is dangerous. It encourages aggressive driving. There's been no design done at this point. After this is when we can start going into conceptual designs. Yeah.
Other questions?
Sounds good to me.
And I'm not sure how the process moves forward, but I know Officer Santiago is here to speak in favor, and in case he gets called away, can he speak now?
Council. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's AJ Santiago. I've been with the police department for 10 years, a little bit about myself. 3 years on patrol, and then 7 years with the traffic safety unit, which I'm currently in. I've handled over 1,000 crashes. I've either studied, handled, or investigated over 100 fatals. And DJ came to our unit ultimately about this project, and I just wanted to talk briefly on it for the issues of concern that we have, because we support it, because our main concern is safety, and that's foremost for it. Ultimately, if you look at 55, there's a violation on up and down Chestnut, and that's just the fact that the public is not educated on it. But in Chapter 4 of Title 39-88A, you have to keep to the right. You can only overtake vehicles when the left lane is open or you're ready to pass. Nobody knows that, really. I'm not saying everybody, but, you know, Chestnut in and of itself, nobody uses it for that element. So that's the forefront, Title 39. Ultimately, too, I've handled several fatals on Chestnut. The pedestrian crosswalks are not great. I mean, they're operated under the MUTCD. The functions for even Chestnut and the Boulevard, Chestnut and Valley with the offset, they're not well lit. The paint is not there. The fatal we had at Delsey and Chestnut, ultimately coming across there was a crosswalk there at Delsey and Chestnut, but really what that ultimately handled was the fact that the 4 lanes, there's a lot of blind spots, people letting people in, and when you cross that manner, whether you're trying to make a left turn or anything like that, you really go ahead and just hope that it's clear. And that fatal ultimately contributed to the fact that somebody let the person in from the gas station there at Delsey and Chestnut, couldn't see because they were the blind spot, and that's how that elderly woman was struck. So when that also is another issue with the 4 lanes. There's no bike lanes, and I know whether you guys are gonna put in bike lanes or not, but there's no shoulder. So ultimately, you step onto Chestnut Avenue, it's immediately you're in the lane of travel. And I'm not trying to promote what plans or how to deter it, or ultimately, you know, what's the sketch for the project. That's gonna have to be to DJ, but I know change needs to happen in order to make it safer, because I've experienced it day in and day out. Ultimately, too, as far as the congestion, I can't speak on that, but I can tell you every time I've handled a speeding complaint in a neighborhood, or I try to put myself in those residents' shoes. So if you can put yourself in one of those homes on Chestnut Avenue and want your kid to get picked up, or your daughter or your son, in front of that house, just keep in mind, when you're going in the outside lane of travel, whether you're going to eastbound or westbound, and then a bus decides to stop in that furthest outside lane, you can't see. A lot of people blow by that stop sign on that bus day in and day out. That's my worst complaint, and the one that really hits home, because I don't want a kid to get hit. So that in and of itself could answer my question whether change needs to happen in this area for Chestnut Avenue. Really, I could go on and on about certain other things, but just try to put you in the element of traffic safety and what we experience day in and day out, and how to handle this project. And I don't know the schematics, but I know there needs to be change, and I know what I see and experience day in and day out. It's tough, and even Chestnut and Valley is another one. But that ultimately, too, it's the 4 lanes, people trying to make that left turn and waiting. When you eliminate it and bring that center lane and have 1 lane on both sides, then it's ultimately, if you pass or yield on the right, it's going to be for that vehicle that's going to do it, not so much that person trying to cross because they can't see, if you guys get what I'm trying to explain. Other than that, get back to it if you guys don't have any questions for me. No? All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good.
Anyone else at this time?
Good evening. My name is Robert LaRue. I'm from Vineland. Some of you know me. Some of you see me around. I've been around. I was born in Vineland. Been in business in Chestnut Avenue for about 25 years, I guess. Bought a building on 3rd and Chestnut about 30 years ago. Been working there every day probably since. And my concern here is safety. And it's only safety. How long that takes from A to B doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is the people crossing the streets. I'm just appalled, I could say, that nothing's been done for the kids in the park. Kids from town, across the street on 3rd Street, risking their lives every day. Some mothers don't even send the kids to the park, because it's just too dangerous. Seniors, same thing. I mean, people in wheelchair, it's terrible. They can't, you try to cross the street on Chestnut Avenue. It's very risky. Even for me, it's risky. So I think that something has to get done. Money from the state or money from the city or money. And a lot of things can start now. You don't have to wait for money to come in. An officer can keep more guard. I know they're very busy. But, once they give one ticket out 1 week, people passing by, they realize they're watching the street now and can control that. People speed on Chestnut Avenue. It used to be Landis Avenue. People stopped, hanging up on Landis, then they started in Chestnut. And it's a very serious matter. For the folks that don't live in town, it's just a matter of how quick we could get to one side of the city to the next side. But for the people that live around the neighborhood, it's risky business to cross Chestnut Avenue. It's very serious. I mean, people that know the kids like to go to the park, that's what the parks are built for people to do, go there, and it's a very dangerous. And the problem is not only on 3rd and Chestnut. The problem starts on Delsey Drive all the way to Main Road. There's different issues. One issue is not going to resolve the problem. The buses stopping on Chestnut Avenue to pick up the kids, they should be stopping on the side street. Or maybe do something because the buses stop on Chestnut and Delsey, it holds the traffic all the way past the light of Delsey Drive. And then when the bus gets done, another comes, they fill the buses there. Then once they leave there, they make a left because they have created such a traffic jam that they kind of take both lanes so they can make a left. And so there is a lot of issues that should be addressed. One issue is not going to resolve the problem. How do they divide it and make it a 2-lane 3-lane or whatever? That's for the planning to do. But definitely something has to get done. It has to be addressed for safety purposes. I have known few people got killed there. Not the lady that died the other day, the guy that died between Boulevard and 4th. And it is, if somebody that you guys here let's say, join, have the I will say, the resources to do something. And like I said, I wouldn't wait next week to start doing something about it. There's things that can be start now. The Board of Education can try to alleviate some of the congestion on the buses. The police can, I know they're tied up, but, the matter to save the lives of who's going to be next is the case here now. There should be something done about it. My concern. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to be heard at this time? No one? Kowski?
I have ordinance 2021-68, an ordinance to amend and supplement ordinance number 8, which established the classification and compensation plans for the City of Vineland, various titles of IBEW Local 210, Unit Number 3, which is ready for a public hearing.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-68 be taken up for a continued public hearing and open to the public for discussion.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to be heard on this ordinance number 2021-68? No one? Chair entertains a motion that the public hearing on ordinance number 2021-68 be closed.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas? Dr. Arthur?
Yes. Add Mr. Franceschini's, Ron's name to this.
What?
Yeah, there was a blank.
That's a sign.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-68 be taken up for second and final reading and adopted according to law.
So move.
I guess I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion by council? None?
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur? Ordinance number 2021-68, an ordinance to amend and supplement ordinance number 8, which established the classification and compensation plans for the City of Vineland, various titles of IBEW Local 210, Unit Number 3. This ordinance is adopted.
Mr. Petrosky, please submit ordinance number 2021-68 to the mayor for his approval or disapproval.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have ordinance number 2021-69, ordinance to release, vacate, and extinguish any public rights in and to a portion of Grove Lane in the City of Vineland, which is ready for a public hearing.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-69 be taken up for a public hearing and open to the public for discussion.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on ordinance number 2021-69? No one? Chair entertains a motion that the public hearing on ordinance number 2021-69 be closed.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas? Dr. Arthur?
Yes. Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-69 be taken up for second and final reading and adopted according to law.
So move.
I second.
Is there any discussion by council? None?
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas? Dr. Arthur?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2021-69, ordinance to release, vacate, and extinguish any public rights in and to a portion of Grove Lane in the City of Vineland. This ordinance is adopted.
Mr. Petrosky, please submit ordinance number 2021-69 to the mayor for his approval or disapproval.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have ordinance number 2021-70, an ordinance establishing and revising the speed limit for certain portions of East Avenue in the City of Vineland, which is ready for a public hearing.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-70 be taken up for a public hearing and open to the public for discussion.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on ordinance number 2021-70? No one? Chair entertains a motion that the public hearing on ordinance number 2021-70 be closed.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes. Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-70 be taken up for second and final reading and adopted according to law.
So move.
I second.
Is there any discussion by council? None?
Mr. Acosta? Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas? Dr. Arthur? Ordinance number 2021-70, an ordinance establishing and revising the speed limit for certain portions of East Avenue in the City of Vineland. This ordinance is adopted.
Petrosky, please submit ordinance number 2021-70 to the mayor for his approval or disapproval.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have ordinance number 2021-71, ordinance amending ordinance 2021-35 to correct an error by inserting therein and attaching thereto zoning schedule, sheet 4, signage standards, inadvertently omitted therefrom, which is ready for a public hearing.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-71 be taken up for a public hearing and open to the public for discussion.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on ordinance number 2021-71? No one? Chair entertains a motion that the public hearing on ordinance number 2021-71 be closed.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes. Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-71 be taken up for second and final reading and adopted according to law.
So move.
I second.
Is there any discussion by council? None?
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas? Dr. Arthur? Ordinance number 2021-71, ordinance amending ordinance 2021-35 to correct an error by inserting therein and attaching thereto zoning schedule, sheet 4, signage standards, inadvertently omitted therefrom. This ordinance is adopted.
Mr. Petrosky, please submit ordinance number 2021-71 to the mayor for his approval or disapproval.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have ordinance number 2021-72, ordinance amending ordinance 2021-44, Chapter 425 of the Code of the City of Vineland, entitled Land Use, to correct an error by inserting therein and attaching thereto zoning schedule sheet 2, conditional use specific standards, inadvertently omitted therefrom, which is ready for a public hearing.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-72 be taken up for a public hearing and open to the public for discussion.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Yes. Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on ordinance number 2021-72? No one? Chair entertains a motion that the public hearing on ordinance number 2021-72 be closed.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-72 be taken up for second and final reading and adopted according to law.
So move.
I second.
Is there any discussion by council? None?
Mr. Acosta?
Nay.
Mr. Franceschini?
Nay.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas? Dr. Arthur?
Nay.
Ordinance number 2021-72, ordinance amending ordinance 2021-44, Chapter 425, the Code of the City of Vineland, entitled Land Use, to correct an error by inserting therein and attaching thereto zoning schedule, sheet 2, conditional use specific standards, inadvertently omitted therefrom. This ordinance is defeated by a vote of 4 nays. I have ordinance number 2021-73, which is ready for a first reading.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-73 be taken up for the first reading.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes.
5, I'm sorry. Ordinance number 2021-73 is ordinance repealing ordinance 2021-44 in its entirety and adopting an ordinance amending ordinance 425, the Code of the City of Vineland, entitled Land Use, so as to provide for medical and adult use cannabis in certain zones and to set forth the regulations and standards therefore.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-73 be passed for first reading and that a public hearing be held on Tuesday, December 14th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m.
So move.
I second.
Is there any discussion by council?
I just want to make a comment that is, ordinance is a must-read and must read more than once in order to really fully comprehend what's on this ordinance.
Anyone else? Can't sleep at night?
Oh,
Try it.
read that.
Will you be able to interpret for us?
Reads that stuff every day.
I know. So at
I
least-
was reading this for a while, and I'm like, okay, let me go back and let's try it again. But it's quite comprehensive, and there's some hard work that went into this.
Anyone else?
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Vargas? Dr. Arthur?
Yes.
I have ordinance number 2021-74, which is ready for a first reading.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-74 be taken up for the first reading.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas? Dr. Arthur?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2021-74, ordinance authorizing the execution of a shared services agreement by and between the City of Vineland and the Land and Sewage Authority for the provision and payment of certain sanitary sewer improvements by the City of Vineland for the benefit of the ratepayers of the Land and Sewage Authority for properties located on Cavallo Drive.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-74 be passed for first reading and that a public hearing be held on Tuesday, December 14th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m.
So move.
I second.
Is there any discussion by council? None?
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas? Dr. Arthur?
Yes.
I have ordinance number 2021-75, which is ready for a first reading.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-75 be taken up for the first reading.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli? Mr. Vargas? Dr. Arthur?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2021-75, bond ordinance of the City of Vineland on behalf of the Land and Sewage Authority, providing for the sanitary sewer extension project for Cavallo Drive in and by the City of Vineland in the County of Cumberland, New Jersey, appropriating $210,000 therefore, authorizing the issuance of $200,000 bonds or notes of the city for financing part of the cost thereof, and directing the special assessment of the cost thereof.
Chair entertains a motion that ordinance number 2021-75 be passed for first reading and that a public hearing be held on Tuesday, December 14th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m.
So move.
I second.
Is there any discussion by council? None?
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Vargas? Dr. Arthur?
Yes.
We'll move now into the consent agenda items. 2021-548 is a resolution authorizing the law firm of Cantor and Whiteley LLC, New Orleans, Louisiana, to execute a notice of preliminary intent to participate in proposed distributor and Johnson & Johnson nationwide opioid settlements, and to act on behalf of the City of Vineland to reach a tentative resolution thereto, subject to final approval of City Council and administration. 2021-549 is a resolution to recognize the certificate of determination and award for bond anticipation notes in the amount of $26,800,000. 2021-550 is a resolution acknowledging that the City of Vineland governing body publicly discussed the calendar year 2021 best practices inventory. 2021-551 is a resolution acknowledging the receipt of the City of Vineland, County of Cumberland Length of Service Award Program Review Report for the year ending December 31, 2020, and authorize the same to be received and filed with the Director of Fire and Chief Finance Officer. 2021-552 is a resolution acknowledging the receipt of the City of Vineland, County of Cumberland Landfill Closure Escrow Fund Audit Report for the year ending September 30th, 2021, and authorize the same to be received and filed with the City Engineer and the Chief Finance Officer. 2021-553 is a resolution approving the advancement of a road diet and other substantive safety improvements on Chestnut Avenue between Main Road and Delsey Drive. 2021-554 is a resolution approving the advancement of a roadway corridor local safety program application for Federal Highway Safety Improvement Program funds for Southeast Avenue between Walnut Road and Elmer Street. 2021-555 is a resolution authorizing the exclusion of the public from a meeting between the mayor, city council, city clerk and staff, business administrator and staff, city solicitor and staff, director of public safety and staff, chief of police and staff, and law firm of Barker, Gelfand, James, and Sarvis concerning matters relating to litigation in which the public body is or may become a party, and matters falling under the attorney-client privilege, and authorizing the disclosure of minutes of said meeting as provided herein. 2021-556 is a resolution authorizing the qualified purchasing agent to award purchases for various motor vehicles, equipment, and accessories available through cooperative pricing systems of which the city is a member. 2021-557 is a resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety for the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over 2021 year-end holiday crackdown grant. 2021-558 is a resolution providing for the insertion in the calendar year 2021 budget of the City of Vineland, a special item of revenue made available by revenue realized from State of New Jersey, Department of Transportation, fiscal year 2022 municipal aid program in the amount of $449,001 and an appropriation in said budget for like sum and purpose. 2021-559 is a resolution providing for the insertion in the calendar year 2021 budget of the City of Vineland, a special item of revenue made available by revenue realized from U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, fiscal year 21, Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant allocation in the amount of $78,607 and an appropriation in said budget for like sum and purpose. 2021-560 is a resolution providing for the insertion in the calendar year 2021 budget of the City of Vineland, a special item of revenue made available by revenue realized from the State of New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety Safe and Secure Communities Grant in the amount of $48,600 and an appropriation in said budget for like sum and purpose. 2021-561 is a resolution providing for the insertion in the calendar year 2021 budget of the City of Vineland, a special item of revenue made available by revenue realized from the Bureau of Justice Assistance under the fiscal year 2021 Bulletproof Vest Partnership, an award in the amount of $17,108 and an appropriation in said budget for like sum and purpose. 2021-562 is a resolution exercising option to renew the contract for Health Insurance Broker of Record Services. 2021-563 is a resolution authorizing the issuance of an mandatory supplemental change order number 1 to contract number C21-0098 issued to TEI Construction Services Incorporated, Duncan, South Carolina, in the amount of $16,050. 2021-564 is a resolution authorizing the issuance of a mandatory supplemental change order number 1 to contract number C21-0045, purchase order number 21-01802, issued to Reed Sound Incorporated, Windsor, New Jersey, in the amount of $3,291.05. 2021-565 is a resolution authorizing extraordinary unspecifiable services agreements for health benefit coverages for employees of the City of Vineland, medical and dental. 2021-566 is a resolution authorizing a professional services agreement with Sargent and Lundy, Hamilton, New Jersey, for engineering services to develop technical specifications for surge arresters, insulation coordination, shielding, potential transformers, raceways, and lighting in an amount not to exceed $37,700. 2021-567 is a resolution authorizing a professional services agreement by and between the law firm of Brown and Connery, LLP, Westmont, New Jersey, and the City of Vineland for special legal counsel services to prosecute disciplinary matters within the City of Vineland. 2021-568 is a resolution awarding an open-end contract to Tanner Industries Incorporated, Southampton, Pennsylvania, for the furnishing and delivery of FCR reagent quality ammonia for Unit 11 and Clayville 1 for the Vineland Municipal Electric Utility Generation Division in the amount of $59,360. 2021-569 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of motor vehicles from Mall Chevrolet Incorporated, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, in an aggregate amount not to exceed $129,383.46 pursuant to a regional cooperative pricing agreement with Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission Cooperative Pricing System. 2021-570 is a resolution awarding a contract to South State Incorporated, Bridgeton, New Jersey, to complete the resurfacing of Palermo Avenue, Lincoln Avenue to Hansbridge Road in the amount of $2,613,360.67. 2021-571 is a resolution awarding a contract to South State Incorporated, Bridgeton, New Jersey, to complete Garden and Mill traffic signalization in the amount of $2,438,778.83. 2021-572 is a resolution canceling outdated checks issued by the City of Vineland. 2021-573 is a resolution canceling grants receivable balances and unencumbered balances of grant appropriation reserves. 2021-574 is a resolution approving surety reduction, release, or renewal as submitted by the city engineer. 2021-575 is a resolution authorizing and directing the refund of taxes. 2021-576 is a resolution providing and authorizing the payment of bills and demands against the City of Vineland. 2021-577 is a resolution authorizing the issuance of a mandatory supplemental change order number 1 to contract number C21-0067, purchase order number 21-03444, issued to BASF Corporation, Florham Park, New Jersey, in the amount of $644.77. 2021-578 is a resolution awarding an open-end contract to Petro Choice LLC of Voca, Pennsylvania, for the furnishing of Trent 60 lubricating oil and coolant for Howard M. Down Unit 11 in Clayville Unit 1. 2021-579 is a resolution authorizing award of a contract to Olympus America Incorporated, Waltham, Massachusetts, to obtain a video borescope as stipulated by Siemens Energy for the proper inspection of VMEU's combustion turbines. 2021-580 is a resolution providing for the transfer of certain calendar year 2021 budget appropriations balances. 2021-581 is a resolution authorizing the issuance of original and renewal taxicab licenses for the year 2021. 2021-582 is a resolution appointing school crossing guards for the school year 2021-2022. 2021-583 is a resolution authorizing special law enforcement officers for the year 2021. I have a communication from Mayor Fanucci regarding the reappointment of David Manders and Michael Pantaleone to the Planning Board for the term of 4 years beginning January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2025, and request the communication be received and filed. And I also have a communication from Mayor Fanucci regarding the reappointment of Brian Lankin to the Vineland Downtown Improvement District Management Board of Directors for the term of 3 years beginning January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2024, and request the communication be received and filed.
Chair entertains a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda.
So move.
I second.
Is there any discussion by council? None?
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes.
That's all the formal business I have, Madam President.
Ostrowski. At this time, are there any comments by council?
Briefly, just tell everyone to check the website, vinelandhealth.org, for any upcoming clinics, whether for adult boost or 5 and up clinics. And that's always at the Old Amish Market. Just remind everybody about Thanksgiving. Obviously, families that are vaccinated, you still need to take precaution, try to ventilate your house, and if possible, you try to do things outside and try to be as safe as possible. And that's all I have.
Councilman Acosta?
I just want to comment on the issue of Chestnut Avenue. And in fact, the gentleman that spoke, who was a relative of mine, owner of a business in Chestnut and Third, I was actually surprised to see him here and speak on this issue. But I've had a number of conversations with different people throughout the years about Chestnut Avenue. And I think this body here needs to take some positive steps, because to see the kids try to cross Third and Chestnut to go to the park, especially during football season, and these are young kids, to see the other kids that actively use the basketball court there, they're taking their lives in their hands just to cross the street there. We shouldn't have that. We need to do something about it, and I think this body definitely needs to take some steps to do that.
Thank you. Councilman Vargas?
I'd just like to add something to that also. I agree with Councilman Acosta. I want to thank the Health Department, the Police Department, and the engineers for coming out tonight with their presentation. I agree, being in law enforcement for so many years, I think it's also time for that. And also would like to congratulate Officer Jeffrey Spendiff on his retirement from the police department. Wish him well, and welcome to the club. That's all I have.
About the turkeys?
We had actually a wonderful turkey drive with the Salvation Army. Actually, I put a few hours in Melville, collected just as amazing as we went through a 2020 year where a lot of people didn't work. The outreach that came out and gave from $1 to $20 and gave their own turkey, and they said, Al, I hope this goes to a family that maybe really needs it more than we do. So those people in Millville and Vineland, thank you very much. From the bottom of our heart, thank you.
Councilman Spinelli?
Jokingly, I hope you can take that turkey down.
We have ham, though.
Thank the Wallace kids for coming and helping out tonight, as always. It's great to see the kids back to the auditorium here, helping out with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanksgiving coming up. Wish everybody happy Thanksgiving and safe Thanksgiving holiday. And we got Vineland Millville football.
Prayers. I think Jesus needs to come down.
Is that in Millville or Vineland this year? Here or Vineland?
It's at Millville.
That
Oh,
Millville.
yeah.
Got the parade coming up in 2 days. There are over 100 people involved in the parade that have put some type of float and or old-fashioned Christmas this year as far as what the theme is, and some nice weather, maybe a snowflake or two.
Yeah, it's going to be cold.
It's going to be cold out, so bundle up and enjoy the holiday. And Weekend after that is the old-fashioned Christmas on the Avenue. We want Josie Spinelli and BID. And is the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Friday night from 5 to 9, Saturday from like 11 to 9, and then Sunday from like 11 to 3 or 11 to 2. Friday night, anybody can come out. They're having the theaters having old movie, old movies, and watching it on a big screen, along with a lot of other events that are going on, crafters and things of that nature, and a few food trucks and vendors. And all day Saturday, there's events with Santa Claus going on, and there's an adult painting party that has been pretty well, looks like it's going to be pretty well attended at the theater, and cookies with Santa, and ID, and pictures with Santa at the theater. And all starts Friday night with the tree cutting, tree lighting at City Hall, where the mayor will take the carriage and ride around to Landis Theater, do the ribbon cutting, and then all the events through that Friday night. And then Saturday night, the theater is having Christmas with Elvis. Elvis impersonator, who's one of the best in the country, performing with an 18-piece orchestra. So all Christmas songs, it's a Christmas concert. And throughout the day, the Bay Atlantic and a lot of other different groups of people playing on the street in front of the market for the most part. I think Bay Atlantic is actually in front of the theater. The other ones are all in front of the market. And then Sunday is get pictures with your pet with Santa, and a few other things going on during that day. There's a Santa race, I think, that day as well. So it's a very busy weekend. If you're into Christmas and you want to reach out for the old time Christmas and not sit on a video game, that's the place to go. So don't say there's nothing to do in Vineland, because there's a lot to do. And kudos to the Salvation Army and Habitat, and I know Al's real involved with the Thanksgiving drive. I know I talked to some people that were involved, and they said it was a very, very big success this year. And there's a lot of people who need it. So that being said, thank you for your volunteer.
And I also want to thank the Wallace School students and Principal Quinn for her dedication to sending the children to help lead the Pledge of Allegiance. And also, I wish everyone a safe and happy, carefree Thanksgiving. And we do have a lot of things coming up, so as Mr. Spinelli said, we certainly have a lot to do if you choose to do something. It's happening in Vineland. So thank you. Anything else?
I just have one. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
He's over his time.
Absolutely, you can. You can still drop them off at the Salvation Army, right there located between 8th and 7th Street on Chestnut Avenue. Salvation Army is at 9 to 5.
Be careful making the time.
Yes,
Be careful making the time.
don't get run over.
I just want to give a shout out to my mother-in-law. She's 90 years old today. And first, God bless her for having the best son-in-law ever. But I wish her well, and she's been a blessing.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
I just want to thank Mr. Petrowski for his artistic touch down the festival. Did a great job. Thank you. Looks great.
Thank you.
All right.
Else? Nothing further? Chair entertains a motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
So move.
I second.
Mr. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Franceschini?
Yes.
Mr. Spinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Vargas?
Yes.
Dr. Arthur?
Yes, thank you, everyone. Have a safe trip home, and we are going into closed session.